What's up, schoolers? Welcome to an AMA on UX design. We're going to cover, can I become a UX designer even if I am not a designer, quote unquote? The answer for you is yes, you can. But first, let's separate two things. UI is the user interface. It's the design of the elements that make up an interface. You know, the buttons, the color, the backgrounds, etc. How a particular state looks on screen. UX design is a little bit different. UX design is user experience. So basically how the user goes from point A to point B, how they get what they need, and how do you accomplish your business goals. And that doesn't necessarily mean designing all of the screen components. It means having to think through that process and design the experience from the point of view of the whole narrative. Here are the things that you need to learn. You need to learn how to define customers, how to use that information in designing customer stories or customer journeys. You have to learn how to translate those customer journeys into different states, as in this screen is a particular state where the customer gets to do this. So you basically can do all those things with existing tools that don't require you to be a quote-unquote visual designer, but you do need to learn those tools, and you do need to learn how to do that with a client. So you have to become very client-facing and very collaborative. So how do you define a customer? How do you think through the process? Step one, find out the customer type. Customer type is, like, for example, the busy executive. That's customer type. Second, find out what their story is, you know, the general kind of demographic information, age, gender, where they live, what jobs they do. Third, figure out what are the things that they do and what challenges they have doing them. And the final part, what are the things that they need in order to overcome those challenges? Another question from Chris Boston. Chris and Jose, what are some of your favorite books that have influenced you as designers and businessmen? There's a lot of books, and we talk a lot about a lot of books. Chris answered, you know, Win Without Pitching. I like Rework from Jason Fried or Fried. Whichever that may be, but I'm going to recommend Business Model Generation by Strategizer. This is a great book for any person who's very visual on how to think through a business. I think one of the questions that always comes up is, well, I'm designing a website. No, you're not. You're designing a business for somebody. This is a really great way to get really familiar with what are all the dynamics or the mechanics of a business. Totally on a different tip, and going from business to more personal and to things that might help you as a designer or as a business person. The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. This is a pretty awesome book. I would recommend it for anybody, especially us as designers who are sometimes just a little bit worried and anxious about the future and about, do people like me? Am I gonna do a good job? All these kind of things. I think this book, for any person who is seeking answers to life's questions, it's a really great book to know. And it's a little fluffy, but it's pretty awesome. So I would totally recommend that. But hopefully that answers your question, Chris Boston. So there's different tools and techniques for UI and different tools and techniques for UX. But fundamentally, at the end of the day, it's about business problems. It's about solving a business problem. The app is secondary. The question is, how do you build the business? How do you build an app or a experience digitally that gets people to use it and that solves somebody's problem? And that's where UX comes in. I mean, there are tons of people that can build and design apps, but there are very few of us who can actually build and design businesses.